To continue from where we stopped last week, you want to share your thoughts with us on what afforestation will bring to food sustainability. Your time starts now.
I am completely of the opinion, and I start to be corrected, that there is no way out of poverty, because we're talking about sustainability. Let's take SDG 1, which is eliminating extreme poverty, which now captures everything. People have to feed and food security. So one of the things is return per unit of land. The average return of every rural family is about 200,000 naira a month. And we're all sure that there's a lot of unutilized land due to how we design our cities. We are compacted, and there's a lot of land for agriculture. So what do you do? Why is agroforestry? I must mention, I run a living lab in Nigeria on behalf of His Majesty King Charles. And they are looking at sustainable market initiatives, and landscape restoration is the basis. The West is looking at educating people about this thing. Look at, somebody is going to educate you about something you are already doing. So why you use landscape restoration is that, one, if we give, I like giving numbers and specific. We take one household, which in North Central, according to the North, is like 6 people per household. Just 300 trees raises their income by 3,000%.
How does that happen?
300 trees, let's take cashew, which is good for the climate, drought resistant, and this one. You take 20 kg per tree, which gives you around 6 tons. At 600,000 multiplied, at current price, actually 3.6. So that family doing agroforestry, without stopping the agriculture they are doing, they have added more return per unit of land by just planting 300 trees. 2 ways you can achieve this. The intervention in Nigeria has been too sophisticated for the peasant farmer. It should be retail based. Articulate the policy, bring it down there. I say 300 trees per family. Every community knows itself. So there is peer pressure, social cohesion. So you take those 300 trees, you give it to this, and we have committed to regenerate 4 million hectares, which is 1.2 billion trees.
Are we looking at this from a nationwide perspective?
Yes. It's called the Buhari Plan. It's a commitment the last president made on our behalf as our commitment to the Great Green Wall and our nationally determined quota, which is 4 million hectares. We have 9 million hectares. We are the most degraded in the world. We are degrading our land by 14%. And this is where our poverty, if you go to the northeast, the recession of the Lake Chad and desertification has a correlation with the insecurity. They say even the people that want to go to heaven don't want to die. So you now replace it with interest. And what can you replace? I say a local government, you do 100,000 trees. What is the allocation per? It brings 2 billion at base and 12 billion per annum. So agroforestry is specific, measurable. You can say, I am taking 50 million out of poverty. The person you are dealing with is simple. He's a simple peasant farmer at home who doesn't even want to deal with bureaucracy. You just go set up shop there, retail the service directly to the community. So landscape restoration is the way out of poverty, and I see no answer, no policy that can clearly determine a clear path that within 5 years you can take half of Nigerians out of poverty if you make the right investments.
When we look at climate change, as it were, it is no doubt something that has affected agriculture.
Yeah.
As an expert, share with me, if you look at the agricultural trend from the global stance, is climate change of any advantage or more disadvantage?
It's a disadvantage, it's a killer. Now we have a problem. We don't do dryers, and the world doesn't even want dry. I mean, they prefer sun-dried. The rain pattern has changed. Then the decreasing yield, what caused that? Utilization of chemical and wrong application of it, of all these things. So climate change is correlated. The pattern has changed because we have less trees in the world, which we all agree we must plant more. Then the way we utilize chemicals has polluted all other aspects of our, like water, air, and the rest. So climate change is much more, it's the key factor related to poverty.
When I see the word Green Sahara, it speaks volumes. Maybe you share your thoughts on what Green Sahara means.
Yeah, it's about 20 years ago we realized that the only way we can go, we've had AIDS as Africa, and there's been argument that it doesn't work. So I was thinking with a friend of mine, said, let's start a foundation. I said, no, the world has to adapt to the management of rational care, which is sustainable. You know, I said, it has to be a business. So 20 years on, what we've been watching and talking, that's why I picked Green Sahara. That's the frontier of climate action in the world. It's the largest man-made project, the Great Green Wall, which stretches across Africa. So I just say, let the world also remind me that the task is not impossible. We can green the Sahara. Let at least one person plant one tree, we'll have had 100 million trees. 20 years ago, I got a lot of encouragement from, oh, you're interested in taking agriculture as a career. They said, that's what I want to do. And I left government work. And today we are the #1 in climate adaptation business modeling in Africa.
Let's talk a bit about organic agriculture, because it's a name that probably sounds common, but I don't think in practice it's that common.
It's to take you back to what we said. You said, what should we do? That's the mistake I don't want us to make as a country. The world tried it. It never got traction. You find shops around, because there were so many rules. I've met food and beverages companies, some of the largest in the world. They said all they are paying are for labels, because someone will sit in New York or France or Paris, and say he's controlling 20 million farmers in the world. The question is, how do you enforce it? So that was when traceability, now is transparency. We need to just open your system. Let's look at your system. So in the organic system was virtually impossible for us to implement, because 80 million farmers we have do not even have the money to plan. Chocolate of them to go through sophisticated, certification system. But what is organic? It's simply growing naturally. So now the world has accepted regenerative. So let's create the code, because we know it more than even the Western world.
Are we seeing much semblance? Are we seeing much an effort, private sector, government? I mean, who should drive this?
Private sector, private sector, government, and critically education. You must educate people on what it is. For instance, now, maybe people who watch this program will understand that regenerative agriculture is not magic, it's what we're doing. We need to codify it. So the schools now, like most of the courses in our schools are not relevant. So you need to bring these courses. Remember, if you go around Nigeria, forestry is not a new thing. Remember departments of forestry? It's just that the knowledge is down. So we now, like one of the things we're doing with some partners is that we're introducing Young Foresters Club. We're starting one foundation, Young Foresters Club in school. We're planting, those clubs will now plant trees, understand that by the time they finish, they can do compost, they can use biodigesters, they can even have a job after secondary school, because we need 1.2 billion trees minimum.
With what you're just saying now, when it comes to tree planting campaigns, I get worried, because we've been doing that for close to 50 years. Even when we were in secondary school and whatever.
I'll give you the answer.
All right, good.
Go on record. It's where you mentioned private. Great Green Wall was formed 2 years before Green Sahara was incorporated. Right now, Green Sahara has carried the largest tree planting campaign in more than 6 decades in Nigeria. Why is that? Because it's a business, it's private sector, it's not charity. We're saying we're going community, we call it public-private community partnership, whether with communities, whether with this. We're saying we're bringing investment. One correction to it is that all interventions, we assume everybody is an entrepreneur. We say, no, we are the entrepreneurs. Let's bring world-class knowledge to the bottom of the pyramid. When you train a lawyer in your community village, he wants to go and serve someone outside, he wants to go to the city. But the economy is there. Create the economy there. I always advocated two things, that we always focus on the product value chain. For us to make progress, we have to define the human value chain, not around the product, but build the product against the human being. You need accountants, you need lawyers, you need this thing. Let's create that economy so they're at the back of it. So when you start from the community, it goes up rather than top-bottom. And all we have had is top-bottom. So when you have proof of concept using these communities and universities and living labs, people see prosperity. You don't need to convince them.
As we round up, in a short what have you, we have a new government in place. What's your clarion call to this administration?
First of all, we should define ourselves and find a purpose. This is not only relevant in agriculture, but when I mean find purpose, a country will decide we want to be number one in certain. What do we want to be number one with? Let's forget food security, component of overproduction. Let's look at affordability and nutrition and livelihood. So what do we want to be the best in? If we want to be the best in cashew, it's a simple thing. Highest maybe is 300,000 tons in another country. We know we need to do 100,000 tons. How many land we need? Where are the people? And we now change our intervention from this sophisticated approach of and now retail it, because the person we are giving it should be able to work. If I need seedlings as an intervention, government is ready to give me, I should just go to, I'm a member of the committee, everybody knows me in the community, just go to the shop set up by whoever it is, fill the forms, I have my guarantees there, I'm in that village, my family is there, and I get my intervention, then believe me, in 5 years we can take half of our country out of poverty. Because those resources, fortunately, is one government going after the other. So they are building on. So they've already made conscious that we have no alternative other than to go to agriculture. So let's just rejig it and make it direct. Let's remove all this bureaucracy, merge them, and let it be available at the local level the way our people understand it, after defining our purpose.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure as well.
It's been Suleiman Dikwa, who happens to be the CEO of Sahara Green Farms. He has been sharing his thoughts for the last 2 weeks on sustainable agriculture. We have looked at all manner of issues as far as this is concerned. Stay tuned for our next segment.